government's vaccine minister, Nadhim Zahawi, joins us now. Good morning to you, Mr Zahawi. You are Mr Vaccine in this government. We know the only way through this now is to roll out these vaccines as fast as we humanly can. Tony Blair was pretty critical when we interviewed him about the lack of preparedness we are currently in for this. And we have had 9 months. Why is it that we're still not, for example, why has every pharmacist not already been enrolled properly? Why have we not enrolled every former member of the health service who wants to contribute? Why are they being given 21 pages of nonsensical form filling, etc., etc.? Why, once again, are we behind the game?
Thank you, Piers. If you will allow me, I just want to describe to you the NHS delivery plan for England. Of course, NHS Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland are doing the same thing. So we rolled out in hospitals, hospital hubs, and rightly so with a new vaccine. The Chief Medical Officer quite rightly advised that you begin in hospitals just to make sure that everything works properly, then into GPs. So what are called primary care networks. So 5 or 6 GPs covering an area of about 50,000 people come together, decide who will lead, the others will support. They're very good at vaccinating the over 80s and of course those in care homes, the sort of the top 2 categories of the 9 categories that the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation have set us as the target. Then we roll into mass vaccination centres, the stuff that, like you've seen in Israel with stadia and sports halls, which will come on line imminently. And of course, the community pharmacies and the independent pharmacies where we think there are gaps. Now, there are 2 things in terms of how quickly you can get jabs in arms of the most vulnerable people. One is to get to them, like in care homes. The other thing is then to make sure that the sites that you've stood up, because to stand a site up, obviously you need the vaccine, then you need all the other support products and technology to go in. You want that site to be optimized. You want that site to do as many as possible, because that's the quickest route to getting as many jabs into people's arms. So we optimize all those sites, as well as bringing on new sites in community pharmacies and the independent
All right,
sector.
so given where we are, and given there's going to be no issues with supply, it seems, in the next few weeks, give us some numbers. You must have a projection as a government about exactly how many people, realistically, we can vaccinate over the next few weeks. Tell us.
Michael Gove yesterday said 2 million a week by the end of this month, which would not get you to your target of more than 30
Tony
million.
Blair thinks we should be aiming for 3 million, then 4 million, then 5 million a week. Do you share that view? So
I will absolutely, with the NHS plan that we have in place, get to that 13.9, 14 million people in the top 4 categories of the most vulnerable by mid-February. That is our target. I'm confident that we can meet that target. Now, in terms of data, I want to say 2 things. One, we've been publishing data every week. So tomorrow, Thursday, we'll publish the next set of data. We've done 1.3 million vaccinations, 25% of over 80-year-olds, which so in 2 weeks' time, those 1 in 4 over 80-year-olds will be protected. As of next week, Piers, we will be publishing daily data so the nation, your viewers can see, and are happy to come back on the programme. What you will see from the 4th of January to the 11th of January is a massive increase compared to the previous 3 weeks, the 1.3 million we've just talked about. And then the week after that and the week after that. The target I'm absolutely focused on is that mid-February, the 4 top categories on that list of the most vulnerable to be offered.
All right, but the other part of this equation, we're in a race against a virus that's mutated to a faster spreading version, which is very, very dangerous. We can see that from the numbers. I asked Michael Gove yesterday how many people we are testing when they come into the UK at our airports, and he didn't know the answer. Do you know the answer?
So in terms of test and trace, that is not my portfolio, but I can tell you that capacity is at 760,000 a day.
No, I'm not interested in all that. I'm interested in how many people. I'm interested in how many people we test
at the border.
At our border. Given that you are the party that wanted to control our border with Brexit, how many people do we test at our border?
So again, I know that the Secretary of State for Transport is looking at a testing regime for people coming into...
look, it's a simple question. You're the vaccine guy. You know that you're in a race against a virus. we have, for inexplicable reasons to anyone with a brain, have throughout this pandemic resolutely refused to test people when they arrive at our border. Nor have we required anybody to have a test and be negative when they get here. No one's understood why. And I simply ask, as I asked Michael Gove, I know the answer. I'm just wondering if you, as another senior member of the government, do you know the answer? Do you know how many people we have tested at our border?
So the reason we don't do that, Piers...
Well, answer questions.
I'm going to tell you why. Because if you listen to Chris Whitty...
Hang on, this is chicken and the egg. Do you know the answer?
The answer is we don't. You don't take a test on the border because it's pointless.
So the answer is 0.
So the answer is 0.
I know that, Piers.
Right. So
I'm listening to you,
well,
my friend.
You can
Just
laugh.
hear me
You
out
can
for a
laugh.
second.
But let me explain why I think it's not a laughing matter. Right. But let me hang on. So you just confirmed what Michael Gove didn't know, which is the truth. It's 0. We don't test people at any of our border when they come in. Secondly, we have never required anybody to have a test and to test negative before they get on a plane to our country, unlike almost every other country in the world. And I simply ask again, why? Why, given that we know many people must be coming in every day who probably have the virus?
Because if you ask the scientists, Chris Whitty and Jonathan Van Tam, they'll tell you that test at the border is near pointless because that person may be showing no symptoms, may test negative, and 2 days later.
So why do other countries insist on us taking tests before we fly?
They insist on a pre-test 3 days before, between 3 days before.
Why don't we do that?
All I'm saying to you is the Secretary of State for Transport is looking at all these things.
No, I'm just asking you, as a government minister in charge of vaccination, to try and thwart the virus. Why have we never, throughout the pandemic, required people to take a test and test negative before they fly into this country? I just don't know the answer. Is it the scientists telling you that that doesn't work? In which case, why does every other country insist on it?
Well, as I said to you, doing that test at the border would be near pointless because
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you, A, I don't agree with that, by the way. I think that's nonsense. And secondly, I'm simply asking why we've never required people to take a test within, say, 72 hours, as I believe is now the government policy you're looking at. Why we've never required people, when they want to arrive in the UK, to have a negative test result within 72 hours of flying in.
So look, I hear you, and we can always learn lessons.
What's the answer?
All I'm going to tell you is we listen to the scientists, and if Chris
So the scientists have told you, just to be clear, our chief scientists and medical advisors have advised the government that we have had no need in the last 9 months to require people to have a negative test result when they arrive in the UK. Is that what you're saying? Because
it was more important to quarantine than anything else, because that's the best way you
establish. How many people have you fined? The other question I asked Michael Gove, how many people have we fined for breaking quarantine when they've come into the country?
I haven't got that number, Piers.
You don't know either. I mean, that's
just on the question
we did ask. I'm not being funny, but we did ask your colleague yesterday. He didn't know. He said he'd get the answers for us. You're the next government minister on the cab rank. You've come up on the show, and you don't know any of these answers either. At least watch the programme.
I answered your first question. You're being unfair, Piers.
OK.
I'm not being unfair. I'm not being unfair.
I answered your first question.
I'm not being unfair. I'm simply asking you why none of you know. I'm simply asking you why none of you know the answers to these simple questions.
No, because we acted very quickly when, for example, I'll give you a perfect example.
You left the borders open, which for a government which has built its entire reputation on controlling our borders is absolutely ridiculous. And just to answer the question, we have issued 14 fixed penalty notices.
We have to have a discussion.
Right, I'm giving you, sorry, with respect, I'm giving you the answers to the questions you don't know the answers to, which might inform you better to make better decisions. The answer is, as Michael Gove didn't know and you don't know, the answer is we've given 14 fixed penalty notices issued at the border and 20 fixed penalty notices issued by the police. This is in response to 30, 40 million people who've flown into the country during the pandemic. People may look at these numbers and the lack of testing at airports and the refusal to make people take a test before they fly in and think it's absolutely ridiculous and one of the reasons that we have the worst death toll in Europe. That's all I'm saying.
you had allowed me a little bit of space to get into that soliloquy, to say to you that if you look,
it's called a fact-checking statement because you didn't know the answers.
No, hold on a second. If you look at what we did when the scientists discovered the South African strain, we immediately acted and stopped travel from South Africa. That is the right thing to do, is to act on the information that we receive as quickly as possible. That is what the role of government is. Of course, we can learn from other countries, but if the medical evidence, the scientific evidence, suggests that it's much better for us to focus on quarantining than it is to focus on...
We don't enforce the quarantine, as I've just established. We don't enforce it. We don't punish people who break it. We don't actually test anyone at airports, and we don't require any negative tests when they come in.
I think it's called shutting the door after the horse has bolted.
You might feel you're the whipping boy for this, but we asked Michael Gove yesterday. He didn't know the answers. You don't know either. Someone in the government has got to work out the answer to these questions and do something about it.
Yeah.
Because actually, I think the inquiry into all this at the end of the day will establish that our failure to control our border is one of the reasons we're in the mess we're in. But look, we've got to leave it there.
Well, first of all, respect, I don't agree with you. We acted very quickly on the South African strain. And so I need to put that on record for your viewers, because otherwise they'll think, everything you said is correct. It isn't. I answered your question on...
Actually, everything I said is correct.
No, because I answered your question on instantaneous testing at borders, which is actually not the right thing to do.
What did I say that was incorrect?
What?
What did I say that was incorrect? Just tell me.
Why aren't we testing at the borders? And I said to you that yes, because Chris Whitty and the scientists think it's much better.
So what did I say that was wrong?
Quarantine and then be tested.
Right, so what did I say that was wrong? Correct me.
But no, I just said, you said, why aren't we doing that? Because it's what other
you said I was wrong, and it turns out you're now saying I was right.
The point is, Nadhim Zahawi, we want you to get the vaccination programme right, and we want you to sort out...
But we also want you to suppress the virus in the best way that we can, because that will make your job as the vaccination minister easier. We've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.